South America was once a world completely isolated from the rest of Earth. And in that isolated world, evolution created monsters. Not wolves. Not big cats. But giant birds. Fast. Silent. And built to kill. One of them stood taller than a human. Weighed hundreds of kilograms. And may have been the most terrifying bird to ever live. Its name was Devincenzia. 66 million years ago, the dinosaurs disappeared. But Earth did not become peaceful. In South America, evolution began a different experiment. The continent was isolated for millions of years, cut off from the rest of the world. And in that isolated wilderness, new predators emerged. Not lions, not wolves, not tigers. But birds. Gigantic flightless hunters evolved to dominate the land. They became known as the terror birds. Creatures built for speed, vision, and lethal precision. Some were small enough to chase prey through forests. Others grew into towering apex predators. Among them were monsters like forest raccoons, Kalenkin, and eventually Devincenzia. These birds ruled a world filled with strange mammals, giant crocodilians, and endless wetlands. There were no human cities. No roads, no safety. Only rivers, fog, and predators. In this forgotten ecosystem, survival depended on one thing alone: the ability to kill before being killed. And for millions of years, terror birds mastered that rule better than anything else alive. Among all the terror birds that once ruled South America, one stood above the rest. Its name was Devincenzia. A giant predator built by millions of years of brutal evolution. It stood over 2 meters tall, and may have weighed as much as 350 kilograms. Its body was narrow and athletic, but its legs were incredibly long and powerful. Built for chasing prey across open wetlands. Unlike modern birds, Devincenzia could not fly. Its wings had become reduced over time, because it no longer needed the sky. It ruled the ground instead. Its skull alone measured nearly 65 centimeters long. Longer than the head of almost any living bird today. And attached to that skull was a massive hooked beak designed for killing. Not for tearing flesh apart slowly like a crocodile, but for delivering devastating downward strikes. Its neck was thick and muscular, strong enough to support its enormous skull during violent attacks. And its middle toe was especially massive, giving the bird balance and stability while hunting. Everything about Devincenzia was specialized for predation. Its eyesight was likely extremely sharp, allowing it to detect movement across vast prehistoric plains. It hunted in a world filled with giant reptiles, strange mammals, and endless rivers. And in that ancient world, few animals could escape a fully grown Devincenzia. Because this was not simply a bird. It was one of evolution's deadliest experiments. Devincenzia was not built to hunt like a lion. It did not wrestle prey to the ground with powerful jaws. And it did not rely on brute force alone. Instead, it hunted with precision. Its skull was massive, but it was also surprisingly rigid. Scientists believe its head was designed to withstand powerful vertical strikes, not violent side-to-side movements. That meant Devincenzia probably avoided struggling with large prey for too long. because a badly timed impact could damage its skull. So instead of overpowering prey directly, it may have used a terrifying attack and retreat strategy. The bird would rush forward at high speed, deliver a devastating downward strike with its hooked beak, then quickly step back before the prey could fight back. Again and again, each strike acting like the blow of a giant axe, designed to wound, weaken, and exhaust. Its powerful legs helped it maintain balance during these attacks, and its muscular neck allowed it to lift and drive its skull downward with enormous force. Devincenzia likely hunted using sight rather than smell. Its sharp vision allowed it to detect movement across open plains and wetlands. And once it locked onto a target, escape became almost impossible. Because this predator was not simply fast. It was specialized. Built by evolution for one purpose alone: to kill efficiently. The world of Devincenzia was unlike anything alive today. Ancient South America was warm, wet, and untamed. Massive rivers cut through endless prehistoric wetlands. Dense forests covered the horizon for thousands of kilometers. The air was heavy with heat and moisture. And every corner of this landscape hid danger. Giant crocodilians lurked beneath dark waters. Some grew larger than modern cars. Strange mammals wandered across the muddy plains. Creatures found nowhere else on Earth. There were armored glyptodonts, long-necked litopterns, and massive ground sloths moving slowly through the forests. The wetlands were alive with movement. Birds screamed across the skies. Insects filled the air. And predators watched from the shadows. Among them was Devincenzia, one of the dominant hunters of this forgotten ecosystem. It shared its world with other terror birds, and competed against deadly mammalian predators. Every hunt was a struggle for survival. A single injury could mean death. Because there were no safe places in prehistoric South America. Only competition, only hunger, and only evolution. For millions of years, species adapted to survive in this brutal environment. Some became faster, some became larger, and some became monsters. Devincenzia was one of them. A giant predator perfectly shaped by one of the strangest ecosystems in Earth's history. For millions of years, terror birds ruled South America. They were among the most feared predators on the continent. Fast, intelligent, and perfectly adapted for hunting. But evolution never stops. And eventually, their world began to change. South America was no longer isolated. A land bridge connected it to North America. And with that connection came new predators. Wolves, big cats, and bears. Powerful mammalian hunters began spreading into the south. The balance of the ecosystem slowly shifted. Competition became more intense than ever before. Terror birds had evolved for a very specific world. A world where speed and precision made them dominant. But specialized predators are often vulnerable when environments change. Their hunting strategies may have become less effective against new rivals. Prey animals also began changing. Some became faster. Others became more defensive. And over time, the ancient rulers of South America started to disappear. Not because they were weak, but because evolution has no loyalty. The same specialization that once made terror birds unstoppable may have also sealed their fate. One by one, they vanished from the earth. until only fossils remained buried beneath ancient rivers and forgotten wetlands. Silent evidence of a lost world. And of predators that once stood at the top of it. Today, the giant terror birds are gone. The wetlands of ancient South America have long disappeared. The rivers changed. The forests vanished. And the world moved on. But beneath the ground, their fossils still remain. Silent traces of predators that once ruled an entire continent. Devincenzia was not a dinosaur. Yet it hunted with the same terrifying dominance. For millions of years, it stood near the top of the food chain. A giant bird shaped by isolation, competition, and evolution. Its world was brutal. And only the deadliest creatures survived. But even apex predators cannot escape change forever. Because evolution does not care how powerful a species becomes. When environments shift, even monsters can disappear. Today, only fragments of bone tell their story. But in another time, if you stood alone in those ancient wetlands, the most dangerous thing watching you would not have been a mammal. It would have been a bird.